Line yourself up on your bones and let's just breathe and observe. So, what's it like to be you today, right now? Close your eyes if you like. If you are sitting in a chair, you're just sitting in neutral, stacking your ribs on top of your hips, your head on top of your ribs. For all of us, arms hanging off the back. When you're done gathering information, start to find that efficient breath. Rib cage spread sideways and backwards, especially down by the waist. Even timing. Inhalation takes the same amount of time as the exhalation. Smooth flow. So the air comes in smoothly, goes back out smoothly. None of this is forced. It's just the idea that we're inviting, allowing. A couple more breaths. Check to see if your weight is on the back of your foot, so more on the heels, more on the outside. Have you got feet right below hip joints, one heel with each butt cheek, or using those hip bones as a measure? See if you can slow the breath down a little bit for these next couple. Then let's get into your hands, of all places to start. I'm going to walk closer so that you can see what I'm doing. We're just going from an interlace, but we'll go from the natural interlace to changing all the fingers until you're in a weird interlace, and go back and forth there a couple of times. Just get used to this strange idea. Pick one, doesn't matter whether it's the usual one or not. Do a little bit of stretching where your finger joints meet your palms, right? So we're not going to the point of pain, as always. Then see if you can extend your elbows while you do that. We're not pushing the wrists out, we're continuing to press through the finger joints. And then change the interlace and do that same thing. See if you can get all the fingers going. So those of us who do not have square palms will have to do playing to get to all the different joints. Then we bring the elbows in, continuing to press out through those finger joints. And then let it go. So if you have a wall, including if you're in a chair and can get to a wall, go for it. You can also use the standing against a corner, but it's helpful to have a wall. Those of us who have a curve um, and a butt that sticks out rather than something flat, I'm going to use a little bit of the padding right at the lower ribs, so mid to lower ribs, below the shoulder blades. I'm also going to use padding right at the base of my skull, and that's going to take up that space. We don't want to flatten the back against the wall. You just want to back up with weight on the heels and outside edges of your feet till your butt touches the wall, or you're backing up your chair as close to the wall as you can get. I've cozied in one of my spacers and I'm cozying in another spacer. So some of you, if you have beautiful, generous curves, you may need something like a block or more folds in the towel. So we don't want those lower ribs to let go of our spacer. We don't want the base of the skull to let go of the spacer, and we're not tipping our head back. Interlace your hands, extend out. As you inhale, go all the way up, keep pressing the ribs against the wall, come back down. This time you're going to try and keep your elbows very close together. Up you go, press down on your heels, elbows close together, come back down. This time we're going to go up, we're going to stay for a couple of breaths. Press your hands up the wall, press your heels into the floor. Reminder that some of you may have your hands here, that's okay, press outward. A slightly different thing is happening for you. For those of us who can get a full vertical extension, we are able to traction through the torso, Here's your last big breath in, or perhaps you're in the middle of it. As you exhale, let those arms come down. Good, relax for a moment. Observe. Reset your spacers if they've gone sliding around at all. Go for the unusual interlace. Stand out through the fingers, elbows close together, and up you go. Big inhalation. Come on back down. That little bit of difference may feel a lot different. Elbows closer together this time. Push down through the heels. Third time, we're staying. If it's uncomfortable for you to stay, continue to go up and down. We're going to traction. So if you're sitting on a chair, push down on your sits bones. Those of us standing are pushing down on heels, and we're pressing those finger joints up toward the ceiling, looking to create some space. Did your lower ribs let go of your spacer? The back of your skull let go of your spacer. And next time you exhale, down you come. Okay, we're going to move to wide leg on the mat. I'm going to give the people in the chair a clue as to what we're up to. You're going to start, I was standing on the underside of the chair before, so it just reset itself. If you are in a chair, you're going to turn slightly to your right, extend one leg out, extend the other leg out. Keep both feet pointing in that direction. That will be your position. So it's like Parsvapadasana. Those of us who are up on the mat, we're still turning feet to the right. So I am going to mirror you today, so there's no confusion there. So right foot, 12 o'clock, left foot pointing towards 10 o'clock. Both eyes turn out, rib cage turns, Parsvapadasana. We're wide as we can be. We're adding a hip shift. So the spine stays in line here. This is not a side bend. This is just shift the hip. At some point, some body part, the outer hip, the back of your front leg thigh, your inner thigh, your ability to hold your core in that twist is going to say, I can't do this anymore. Back up just a little bit and stay. So we're in the beginning of Trikonasana, triangle pose. Those of you who've been doing yoga for a while and know how to go there into a deeper Trikonasana, I invite you to go there. Remember, we want to hold on to the twist. We want to hold on to both thighs turning outward, and we want to be able to reach the arm without grabbing the shoulder with the neck. If your head will turn to face that outstretched left arm, go for it. Press down a little bit on your thigh and turn it backwards. See if you can open your ribs into a bigger twist. Next inhalation, pull yourself back up to that back leg. Let the arms come down as you turn your feet around to the other side. So we're building a triangle pose that we can build bit by bit. Starting with the feet, left foot now pointing toward 12 o'clock. Outside edge of the right foot is pointing toward 2 o'clock. Both thighs turn away from each other while your feet stay glued. Twist the ribs so they're parallel to the long edge of the mat. You're at Parsvapadasana. And then start shifting your hips back and forth. If it helps you to put hands on your hips to feel the shift, they are rocking. We did this wide leg in one of the breakdown classes without the legs turned. We're just adding on to that. And again, once you find, here's my limit, the outside of my hip, back of the thigh, inner thigh, ability to hold that twist with the core, you stop and you stay. If this extended arm gets too heavy, bend the elbow. If that's still too much, bring the arm down along the side. You will have shoulder issues that you need to address. So this is a standing twist that can also help stretch some leg muscles. It can stretch your core and leg muscles and other body parts, but we want to stay out of the way of thinking of stress. We're working right at the edge of resistance. So one more big inhalation. As you exhale, make sure your core is engaged. The next inhalation is going to pull you back up towards your back leg. Turn the feet forward. Either step them together, or if you can jump them together. If you step them, train the landing. So let's go wide with the legs again. Prasarita Padottanasana. Start rolling your shoulders back. So if you're sitting in a chair, your legs are just wide, and you're rolling your shoulders, and let your ribs come with you. And then make it really floppy so that your shoulder rolls bring you into a side bend. And then stick your butt out and start going forward. Let your knees bend. And we're going to shift back and forth from foot to foot while you continue that rolling in the shoulders. Keep your butt as low as you can get it without stressing other leg joints. So if you're in a chair, you can be putting your hands perhaps on the floor, perhaps on blocks, perhaps you just have your elbows on your knees, and you're just shifting side to side. Remember, in a couple of weeks, we'll be doing a chair class, and you'll be able to see more of that. Or the long version on YouTube will go up in the next couple of days. So gently bring yourself to a stop and get your back muscles a little bit engaged, get your butt muscles engaged, and climb yourself back up. Reminder that anything that your healthcare practitioner has said you may not do carries over into all of this. Those of you with back trouble, things are not always available to you yet. Right? Let's come on down to the floor. So if you're sitting in a chair, before I get all the way down there, extend your legs out long, or you can put them up on a second chair. If you're using the feet on the floor version, you may want a couple of books or yoga blocks if you have them. If you are sitting on the floor and it's challenging for you to sit in an L shape, Dandasana, put yourself up on some things so that it's not an issue for you to sit upright rather than falling backwards. So we want to get used to being able to move into Paschimottanasana, which we did a few months back with a chair. We are now not using the chair. Our legs are going to stay anchored, and we're going to see if we can rock the hips. So for some of us, it's helpful to have hands on the floor, and you're pushing yourself upright. So the tops of your hips are kind of drawing a rainbow. One end would be down here behind you. The other end would be up and over the top by your thighs. So if you can rock your hips so that your belly starts to come closer to your thighs, go there. Otherwise, just stay with the rocking. If you are thinking in terms of shoulders, change your thoughts. So your hips are going and your shoulders are just going along for the ride. And then we're going to hang out wherever that happens to be. Eventually, yes, it is a posture where we go a little bit further. If you have been doing yoga for a while and you have health in your back, sure, go for it. If you have back issues, this one is incredibly dangerous to go further with than getting that place where the hips are rocking. So we are taking our pelvis and turning it around the thigh bones. So as you exhale next time, reach your heels a little further away from your hips and reach the top of your head a little further away from your hips. So we're extending as much as possible the back of the body. And next time you take a big inhalation, come on all the way up to sitting. And find a comfortable way to sit. If you like Dandasana, stay in Dandasana. We want your torso to be stacked upright because we're going to play with the face. So very gentle touch. Let me stand up so you can get a better view of what's going on my face. We're just using very light touch on the fingers, all the way from the chin back to the ears. This helps to move the lymph. That's why it's very light touch. It's very superficial. This is your trash removal system working. And then we're going to smooth out some of the skin. This is left about less about lymph and more about smoothing out overused areas. So we're going from the corner of the lips to corner of the nose. Very gentle smoothing. And then we're going to go back to moving the lymph out. Forehead, from the middle of the forehead, straight across. Again, this is not dragging skin, very gentle touch, feather fingers. Go back down to the chin or jaw. And then to move from down in the face, front of the ears, down the neck to the collarbones. Just do that sweep a few times. This is one of those things that can get some of the congestion out of your face. Okay, we're back down on the floor. Constructive rest. So if you're sitting in a chair, sit toward the front so you can lean back a little bit. Slow motion bicycles. Oh my God, so slow motion. So engage your corset. Engage your pelvic floor. Connect your inner thighs to your pelvic floor. You can bring your hands behind your head to cradle the weight of your head. As you exhale, bring one leg in and the other leg in. So you're curled up, your lower abdominals are starting to engage. Use upper corset, upper core to lift your chest. Slowly twist your left elbow to your outside of your right knee. Extend your left leg. Your left leg can be extended up if you need it. Slowly come back to the center. On your next exhalation, twist the other direction. As you inhale, come back to the center. Is your corset engaged? Pelvic floor, inner thighs connected. Exhalation, over you go. Come back to the center. Can you feel your waist pressing toward the floor? If you're in a chair, you're going to be extending your legs along the floor rather than picking them up. Drawing the knee in will help engage your abdominals. Just one more each side if you can. If you are starting to pull on your head, if you're arching your back, it means it's time to stop. So again, we're engaged in the core and then exhalation as we twist. We're coming back to the center on an inhalation. You are done. Come back to constructive rest. Let your breath really inflate that entire core area. That's going to help all those working muscles release. If you're in a chair, you're sitting in neutral. And then let's do a stretch to open the front of the body. Ideally, you have a couple of sets of blankets, or I've got a couple of little bolsters here that are going to support the length of my body. You can use a couple of blankets with blocks to support your feet. Worst comes to worst, you can use blocks or blankets under your hips and blocks or blankets under your feet. It's nice to have this length of support. So we're lying down here, chair people. I'll talk you through something in a moment. We're lying down and getting our shoulders onto the floor. And then see if you can roll your shoulder blades underneath you as if you were going to get the top of your shoulders on the floor. If your head is pressing hard into the floor, back up further. It means that your neck has too much tension for this. Let your arms relax along the sides of your body while you're getting used to this position. People in the chair move toward the front edge of the chair and then arch your upper back. So it's like somebody's got a string on the lower part of your breastbone, right in front of your heart, lifting up toward the ceiling. You can use hands behind your head if you need, and you're going to lean back toward the back of the chair. So you may have to adjust where you're sitting. You would like to be supported either by a wall or by the back of your chair. Those of you who are lying down, if you can extend your legs, go for it. If that suddenly creates a big arch in your lower back or pulls your shoulders off the floor, then it's too much and you need to bend at least one knee. You can change legs here. to explore. We're opening up the entire front body. So big opening in the chest, more of an opening down the front of the torso, front of the hip joint. Keep your legs in neutral, kneecaps face the ceiling. Legs stay close together. Reach very gently with your heels. So if you're sitting in the chair, it's up to you whether you feel you have the control to extend your legs. We're keeping most of the work into the torso if we're in the chair. And to come out of this, bend your knees. If you have room to push yourself all the way slowly, slowly backwards, go for it. If that's not available to you, choose a side, straighten one of your legs, let your hips lower as you roll to the side, let your ribs and your head lower, push things out of the way so you can be in constructive rest. Coming out of it on the chair, it's as if someone is lifting you up and over the top, out of your back bend. If at any point this feels like too much work for your core, let yourself collapse and then roll up. So your head, your shoulders, your ribs stack themselves on the hips in that order. And then for the last thing, if you are sitting in a chair, if you have a second chair, legs up on that second chair, or maybe even up on your desk, if you've got that kind of a luxury, we'd like to get our feet raised. And you can even arrange yourself so you're leaning back. Two options for those of us who are down there on the floor. One is to grab a chair or other footrest, leg rest. You want it in fairly close to the butt so you can rest your lower legs on it. This is going to be your pose for relaxation today. Lovely, for those of you who have access, is to roll so that your bottom is very close to the wall and then turn yourself over so that your legs are up the wall. Your legs are relaxing. Outside of the legs are going to relax down toward the floor. Hands can rest on the belly. They can rest out to the side, palms up. Back of the hips wide. Your bottom very wide. If this is pulling on your lower, the backs of your thighs, push yourself a little away from the wall, or use the version where you've got bent legs resting up on a chair. You can stay here for, I'd say, up to about 5 minutes to start with, but be mindful of what's going on with your feet. If you are losing circulation, if you're getting the tingly thing, see if moving the ankles or moving the knees will bring that back. If it doesn't, it's time to come out. If you, please visually check as well. Some of us don't feel the tingling thing, but we suddenly notice toenails turning blue. Also, not a good sign. So when you're ready to come out, just bend your knees, roll over to the side, and slowly come back up to vertical. And then thank yourself for doing something good for yourself today. Have a good rest of one.